Hey everyone, welcome to Unit 4. We're getting closer to the end of the class. I hope you've enjoyed it so far and you've learned a lot. This week we're going to look at compensation, but from a little bit different perspective. And you can see the learning objectives, and then of course in the announcement body itself it'll outline a number of things for you to see as we work through this week. But really the big thing this week is looking at the various types of employment classification. So you're going to see or hear exempt, non-exempt, and independent contractor. You'll also know hourly, salaried, or non-employee. And those terms have some cross capabilities. So generally, when we talk about an exempt employee, we're talking about somebody that receives a salary. Now, there are a number, I think there's 7 total different exemptions that can apply, such as professional. We think of lawyers, doctors, school teachers, things like those professions are typically considered exempt. There's also an administrative, and those are a lot of times your CEOs, your CFOs, other things like that. I'm an exempt level employee. I don't receive overtime pay for anything over 40 hours. Now, that sounds kind of painful in some respects, but the nice part is if I don't work a full 40-hour week, I get paid for a full 40-hour week. However, the inverse is true, such as this weekend when I'm recording this video, I'm going to be working on work instead of watching Hallmark movies with my wife or something else. So there's times that, unfortunately you work over that and don't get paid for it. Now, the non-exempt employee is considered an hourly employee. You should be paid for anything over 40 hours. And depending on where you're at, such as California, they have different overtime laws. For example, I believe, and I'm not a California payroll expert, but they actually get paid for anything over 8 hours. But most states and federally, it's over 40 hours in your payroll period or pay period. Now, there is one caveat with the exempt. Non-exempt. You can be a non-exempt salaried employee. You will hear this very rarely. It's not a common thing, but it's actually an hourly employee that may get overtime for working more than 40 hours, but they are paid a salaried basis. Limited capabilities on that because there's some strict requirements. So most of the time, you're going to find executives and managers and leaders are considered salaried or exempt, meaning they're exempt from overtime. And then your frontline employees, entry-level employees, things like that are considered non-exempt, meaning they are not exempt from overtime requirements. The last classification is the independent contractor. Now, independent contractors do not actually work for the organization, and the FSLA actually has a duties test that kind of helps determine different classifications. And the easiest way to think about it is if you hire somebody to come in and paint your house or remodel your bathroom, they're actually an independent contractor because they determine when they're going to come in and work, what hours they work, how they're going to get the work done. But at the end of the day, you knew that you wanted your house painted this color with the trim painted a different color, and so they get to decide, well, I'm going to start on the back of the house or the front of the house or whatever that might be. However, here's where the rub comes into play. A lot of times organizations will attempt to use the independent contractor claim when they actually should be employees. That's where that duties test kind of comes into play just a little bit, in the respect that if the independent contractor is governed by a number of different things, such as when they have to report, what they have to do, the orders, things like that, they're probably going to be classified as an employee versus an independent contractor. One of the most recent has been like Uber and Lyft and stuff. There's been some court cases about that. Are they actually independent contractors or employees? FedEx, believe it or not, FedEx delivery drivers for a long time were considered independent contractors. That was finally settled in a lawsuit where they were determined they were actually employees. And I actually found that out. And interestingly enough, our FedEx delivery driver stopped by one day, and I was outside, and she was in a different truck, and I commented, and she said, "Yeah, I hope I hurry up and get my truck back soon because it's harder to do my job with this like rental van that she was using and stuff." And we got to talking and found out that she actually had to buy her own truck and she had to pay for her own uniforms and things. But FedEx dictated her route, her delivery times, and what she took and things like that. That actually went to not her specifically, but that was a court case in which they determined that FedEx actually should have treated them such as employees. And